The ground vanished beneath him, May 21st, 2024, 29,000 feet. Daniel Patterson unclipped from his safety rope to pass slow-moving climbers on Everest's summit ridge. The cornice beneath him collapsed, 8,000 feet of freefall into Tibet. Gone. This wasn't bad luck. Over 300 climbers have died on Everest, with 200 bodies still frozen on its slopes. And here's what nobody tells you. Most don't die climbing up. They die coming down, exhausted and oxygen deprived, making split-second decisions that turn fatal. This is the story of 4 climbers who fell to their deaths and what went wrong in those final moments. May 21st, 2024, the cornice collapse. Daniel Patterson, a 40-year-old British climber, stood atop Mount Everest that morning. At 8,849 meters above sea level, he had just achieved his lifelong dream. Beside him was his guide, Tenji Sherpa, experienced, skilled, and ready to lead him safely down. But descent is where Everest claims most of its victims. The route was packed with climbers moving in both directions along the narrow ridge. Traffic jams had become a grim reality on Everest, especially during brief windows of good weather. Climbers clipped to fixed safety ropes inched through dangerous terrain, creating a bottleneck of people, gear, and ambition. The conditions were treacherous. Unusually warm weather had softened the snow, making the ground unstable. Cornices, overhanging formations of snow and ice, lined the path, appearing solid but ready to collapse at any moment. Patterson and Tenji navigated the hilly steps successfully, but their progress slowed as the ridge grew more congested. To descend faster, they made a fateful decision. Unclip from the safety ropes, move around slower climbers, and reattach. It was risky, but common when delays could mean oxygen depletion or worsening weather. At around 10 a.m., disaster struck. As they moved to pass another group, the cornice beneath them gave way. A massive section of snow and ice broke apart with a deafening crack. The ground simply vanished. The fixed rope saved some climbers, jerking them to a violent halt. But Patterson and Tenji, having unclipped to pass, had no lifeline. They fell with the collapsing snow, tumbling down the Kangshung face, a sheer vertical drop into Tibet. Climbers on the ridge froze, staring at the empty space where the cornice had been. Some peered down, hoping for signs of life, but the slope was too steep to see anything below. In the death zone, rescue is nearly impossible. The harsh reality set in quickly. There would be no coming back. News of the tragedy spread rapidly through radio communications. At base camp, climbers and guides learned that the collapse had claimed 2 lives. The loss of Tenji sent shockwaves through the mountaineering community. Patterson, who had been climbing to raise funds for a family affected by cancer, was mourned for his selflessness. Meanwhile, stranded climbers faced their own crisis. The cornice collapse had created a gap in the route, and oxygen supplies were running low. A guide named Vinayak Jayamala took the lead, carefully creating a path across the unstable snow. One by one, climbers followed, their focus razor sharp. Before we continue, if the mountains fascinate you, subscribe to the channel. Every week, we share true stories shaped by the world's most powerful landscapes. Recovery efforts began the next day, but the Kangshung Face is one of Everest's most perilous areas. Helicopter rescues were impossible due to the Tibetan location. Despite searches and aerial scans, neither Patterson nor Tenji was found. Their deaths reignited debates about Everest's overcrowding and commercialization. In 2023, the year before Patterson's climb, overcrowding contributed to the deadliest climbing season in the mountain's history. Critics argued that Everest had transformed from an elite challenge into a perilous traffic jam. May 16, 2006, the broken ski. Thomas Olsen stood on Everest's summit, exhausted but triumphant. The Swedish adventurer and extreme skier had spent years preparing for this moment, but reaching the top was only half his goal. He wanted to ski down Everest's north face, an achievement few had even attempted. Thomas and his Norwegian partner, Tormod Granheim, had climbed for 2 grueling days through a snowstorm. After a brief rest at the summit, they began their descent toward a narrow gully above the Norton Couloir. Then disaster struck. Thomas's left ski broke just behind the binding. On Everest, a broken ski can be a death sentence. They tried to fix it with tape and climbing gear, but the repair was weak. With time running out, they pressed on. At a rocky cliff about 45 meters high, finding a secure anchor proved difficult. The rock was solid, with little ice to hold the ropes. They improvised using snow stakes and an ice axe. Thomas, burdened by the broken ski, descended first. About 30 meters down, the anchor failed. Thomas fell into the Norton Couloir, plummeting 10 to 15 meters before hitting the ground. The impact likely knocked him unconscious. Unable to stop himself, he slid further down the steep face, 2,500 vertical meters, until he disappeared into the Mid-Rongbuk Glacier below. For Tormod, the nightmare was far from over. Moments after Thomas's fall, his oxygen mask broke. Now he had to navigate the treacherous descent without supplemental oxygen, using a rope he no longer trusted. He skied down alone, finding Thomas's ice axe and crampons, but no signs that Thomas had tried to stop his fall. The snow was undisturbed, confirming his worst fear. Thomas had lost consciousness immediately. The next day, a search team found Thomas's body at 6,700 meters. To prevent further risks, Sherpas moved it 300 meters lower, out of the avalanche zone. A helicopter airlifted him from the mountain the following day. Thomas had been meticulous in his preparation, an experienced climber with years of training. But on Everest, even the most skilled adventurers are at the mountain's mercy. His dream of skiing Everest's north face was part of a larger project to ski the 7 summits, the highest peaks on each continent. Everest claimed his life, leaving that ambition unfinished. 2001, the legendary Sherpa Babu Chiri Sherpa was born in Nepal's Khumbu region, surrounded by the towering peaks of the Himalayas. For him, the mountains weren't just a backdrop, they were life itself. Like many Sherpas, he began working as a porter in his teens, carrying gear up Everest's slopes. By 16, he had officially started his climbing career. Over time, he achieved what few could, summiting Everest 10 times. But his real fame came from the records he set. In 1999, he spent 21 hours on the summit without supplemental oxygen. Most climbers can only manage a few minutes. In another feat, he scaled the mountain in just 16 hours and 56 minutes, a climb that typically takes days. Babu's achievements extended beyond personal records. He cared deeply about his community in the Khumbu region, where education and healthcare were scarce. Having grown up without formal schooling, he dreamed of building schools for future generations. He raised money through his climbs, hoping to improve lives. In 2001, during his 11th Everest expedition, Babu was at Camp 2, located at 6,500 meters. He was seen walking near the camp's edge, possibly taking photos. The exact details remain unclear, but he slipped and fell into a crevasse. His absence wasn't noticed until dinner time. A search party formed, and by midnight they discovered the crevasse. The fall had been fatal. The next morning, 2 Sherpas descended into the narrow gap to retrieve his body, carefully working through blocks of ice. After 2 hours, they secured his remains and brought him to the surface. It took nearly 60 Sherpas 8 hours to transport his body down through the icefall and crevasses back to base camp. Babu's death was a profound loss. At just 33 years old, he had already achieved more than most climbers do in a lifetime. His records on Everest remain unmatched, but his greatest legacy may be the work he did for his community. The schools he helped fund brought education to a region that had none, and his foundation continues to support development projects in Khumbu. April 30th, 2017, the Swiss machine Ueli Steck was known as the Swiss machine, a climber who had spent years redefining what could be achieved in the mountains. Born in 1976, he grew up in the Emmental Valley in Switzerland, showing a natural talent for endurance sports from an early age. By his late teens, he was scaling some of the world's most challenging peaks, including the north face of the Eiger, at just 18 years old. Over 2 decades, he established speed records and achieved first ascents across the globe, earning a reputation as one of the best alpinists of his generation. Steck's philosophy was simple but demanding: speed, efficiency, and precision. His solo ascents of peaks like the Eiger, Annapurna, and Shishapangma pushed the limits of human capability. By 2017, he was ready for his next great challenge, the Everest Lhotse Traverse. The plan was ambitious: to summit Everest via the Hornbein Couloir, an incredibly steep and rarely climbed route. Then traverse to Lhotse, the world's 4th highest peak, all without supplemental oxygen. He arrived in Nepal in April 2017 with his climbing partner, Tenji Sherpa. Early setbacks complicated their plans when Tenji suffered frostbite, forcing him to recover at base camp. Steck pressed on, using the time to scout routes and build strength. He soloed parts of the West Ridge and climbed from base camp to Camp 3 and back in a single day, a feat that would take most climbers several days. At 40 years old, Steck believed he was in the best shape of his life, having spent weeks trail running at elevations up to 20,000 feet. His confidence was unshakable. But Steck was also someone who made decisions quickly, often shifting plans in the moment. On April 29th, he texted Tenji saying he planned to climb Nuptse the next morning, a 7,861-meter peak near Everest that wasn't part of their original plan. Conditions looked good, and it offered a chance to acclimatize while doing something challenging. Early the next morning, April 30th, Steck set out from Camp 2 around 4:30 a.m. He started up the glacier with a French climber, Yannick Graziani, who was attempting Everest without oxygen. The two parted ways as Graziani headed toward Camp 3 and Steck veered right toward Nuptse. Several climbers and Sherpas saw him ascending the face as dawn broke. He moved quickly, with the precision that had defined his career. No one knows exactly what happened next. Steck was last seen about 300 meters below Nuptse's summit. Sometime later, he fell approximately 900 meters down the mountain's north face. Witnesses from other expeditions saw the fall, but couldn't say what caused it. His body was found in the western CWM between Camps 1 and 2. The news spread rapidly, shocking the climbing community. How could someone as skilled and experienced as Steck fall? Some speculated he slipped on ice or snow, a common hazard even for the best climbers. Others suggested fatigue or a misstep in the thin air at high altitude. The exact cause remains a mystery. Steck's death left a deep void. He wasn't just a mountaineer. He was an innovator who inspired countless climbers with his achievements and philosophy. His feats, like soloing the south face of Annapurna or setting speed records on the Eiger, were legendary. Yet he was also known for his humility and generosity, often mentoring younger climbers. In the end, Everest claimed another life that day, adding another chapter to its long and tragic history. The mountain's deadly allure. Over 300 climbers have lost their lives on Mount Everest, with nearly 200 bodies still scattered across its icy slopes. The death zone offers little mercy. Oxygen is scarce, temperatures plunge, and minor missteps often turn fatal. Why does the mountain remain such a magnet for deadly ambition? Perhaps it's the ultimate test of human endurance, the desire to stand where few have stood, or the drive to push beyond our limits. But Everest never forgets, and it rarely forgives. The truth about Everest's commercialization. Here's what the guiding companies don't advertise in their glossy brochures. Everest has become a business a deadly, profitable business. In 2019, Nepal issued a record 381 climbing permits. Add guides, Sherpas, and support staff, and you're looking at nearly 900 people trying to summit during a window of just a few weeks when weather conditions allow. The result? Traffic jams at 29,000 feet, where people are literally dying while waiting in line. The famous photo from May 2019 showed it all. A snaking line of climbers stretching from the Hillary Step, all waiting their turn to reach the summit. That season, 11 people died. Many from exhaustion while stuck in the queue, their oxygen running out as they waited. The bottleneck isn't just inconvenient, it's lethal. When you're in the death zone, every minute counts. Your body is consuming itself for energy. Your judgment is impaired. Standing still at that altitude for hours can mean the difference between life and death. And here's the controversial part. Not everyone who climbs Everest should be there. The commercialization of the mountain has led to inexperienced climbers paying upwards of $100,000 for guided expeditions. They rely entirely on their Sherpas and guides, many lacking the technical skills to handle emergencies or make critical decisions independently. Sherpas carry the real burden. They fix the ropes, carry the supplies, rescue stranded climbers, and often die doing it. For every 10 deaths on Everest, roughly 3 to 4 are Sherpas. They take the risks so wealthy adventurers can tick off a bucket list item. The industry depends on them, yet they receive a fraction of the recognition. What happens to the bodies? Nearly 200 bodies remain on Everest, scattered across its slopes like grim markers of failed expeditions. Some have become landmarks, green boots, Sleeping Beauty, macabre waypoints that climbers pass on their way to the summit. Why leave them there? The answer is brutal but practical. Recovery is almost impossible. At extreme altitude, every step requires enormous effort. Carrying your own body weight is exhausting enough. Now imagine trying to carry another person, dead weight, down treacherous terrain with minimal oxygen. It's a recipe for more deaths. Some families have paid tens of thousands of dollars for recovery expeditions. It requires teams of Sherpas, favorable weather, and incredible risk. Even then, success isn't guaranteed. Bodies can be frozen solid into the ice, or located in positions so dangerous that recovery would almost certainly claim more lives. So, they stay. Frozen in time, preserved by the extreme cold. Some are visible from the climbing routes, a constant reminder of the mountain's unforgiving nature. Others disappear under fresh snow, only to resurface years or decades later as the glacier shifts. For the families, it's devastating. No closure, no burial, no final goodbye. Their loved ones remain on the mountain forever, becoming part of Everest's dark legacy, the psychological reality of high altitude. What really happens to your mind at extreme altitude? The effects are more terrifying than most people realize. Above 26,000 feet, your brain literally begins to die. The lack of oxygen causes cerebral hypoxia. Your brain cells start shutting down. Decision-making becomes impaired. Your reaction time slows. You can't think clearly, yet you're making decisions that determine whether you live or die. Climbers report hallucinations. Some see people who aren't there. Others hear voices. The line between reality and delusion blurs. You might think you're fine, that you can push on when, in reality, you're minutes from collapse. This is called summit fever, the overwhelming compulsion to reach the top, even when every rational thought says, turn back. It's killed dozens of climbers who ignored warning signs because they were so close. Just a few more hours, just a little bit further. Add to this the extreme cold. Temperatures can drop to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Frostbite can occur in minutes. Your extremities go numb. You lose sensation in your fingers and toes. Many climbers have lost digits, noses, even entire hands and feet to frostbite because they pushed too far. Sleep at high altitude is nearly impossible. Your body struggles to breathe lying down. You wake constantly, gasping for air. After weeks of poor sleep, exhaustion compounds the effects of oxygen deprivation. Your body is running on empty. Then there's the isolation. If something goes wrong, you're on your own. Helicopter rescues can't reach the death zone. The air is too thin for rotors to generate lift. If you collapse above Camp 4, your fellow climbers face an impossible choice. Risk their own lives trying to help you, or leave you to die and save themselves. Most choose to save themselves. It's not callousness, it's survival. At that altitude, you can barely keep yourself alive, let alone carry someone else. Can Everest be made safer? After every deadly season, the same questions arise. Should there be stricter requirements for climbers? Should Nepal limit permits? Should inexperienced climbers be banned? Some argue for mandatory skill assessments. Climbers would need to prove they've successfully summited other 8,000-meter peaks before attempting Everest. Others suggest limiting permits to reduce crowding, though this would devastate Nepal's economy, which depends heavily on climbing tourism. The reality? Nothing will change. The money is too good. Nepal earns over $5 million annually just from permit fees. Add in the economic impact on local communities, guides, porters, hotels, equipment rentals, and you're looking at tens of millions of dollars flowing into one of the world's poorest countries. Everest will continue to attract dreamers, adventurers, and those seeking to prove something to themselves or the world. The mountain doesn't care about your motivations. It doesn't distinguish between the experienced alpinist and the wealthy amateur. It treats everyone the same, with indifference. The final question. So why do they keep climbing? Why risk everything for a few moments on a frozen summit where you can barely breathe, let alone celebrate? Maybe it's because humans are wired to push boundaries. We climbed Everest because it was there, as George Mallory famously said. We went to the moon, dove to the ocean's deepest points, crossed deserts and poles. The drive to explore, to test our limits, to see what we're capable of. It's fundamental to who we are. Or maybe it's simpler. Maybe it's about proving something to ourselves, that we're capable of extraordinary things, that we can overcome seemingly impossible challenges, that we're more than our ordinary lives suggest. Whatever the reason, the mountain will be there, waiting, indifferent, ready to test the next wave of climbers who think they can conquer it. But here's the truth every climber learns too late. You don't conquer Everest. If you survive, it's because the mountain allowed it. The stories of Daniel Patterson, Thomas Olsen, Babu Chiri Sherpa, and Whaley Steck aren't cautionary tales meant to scare people away. They're reminders of what's at stake. Each made their choice fully aware of the risks. They died doing what they loved, pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Their bodies may remain on the mountain, but their stories live on. They remind us that some dreams come with the ultimate price, and for some people, that price is worth paying. Mount Everest stands at 29,032 feet above sea level. It's been climbed over 10,000 times, and it's killed over 300 people trying. The question isn't whether it will claim more lives. The question is, knowing all this, would you still climb?